Hello everyone, my name is Susan, but my friends and family call me Susie. I'm 16 years old and I never sleep. Absolutely never. Let me tell you how it all happened. Until last year, I was an ordinary teenager, like all of my friends. I was going to school, listening to rock music, and wearing fancy jeans. What happened to me then, you'll ask? A lightning struck me. This is how it happened. Last year, I was working at a summer Girl Scout camp. One day, when we were on a hike, a heavy rain poured. We all hid under a large oak tree. We lost our direction and my cell phone didn't work. So one of our Girl Scouts climbed to the very top of the tree to have a look around and see what way we should go. I didn't see how she did it because it was all dark with the clouds and rain. Katie managed to climb up the tree and then she called for me out loud. She was really scared and didn't know how to get down. I was afraid she could fall from the tree, so I climbed up the tree myself to help her get down, even though I never climbed the trees in my life before. It was a very scary moment for both of us, but I managed the situation. I encouraged and showed her how to get down, and she managed to safely get back to the ground. Then I started getting down myself, and I was already making my steps down when a terrible thing happened. A lightning flashed and hit me. I fainted and lost my consciousness, and I fell to the ground, hitting all the tree branches along my way. I woke up in the hospital. My parents were sitting next to me and they felt devastated. When I opened my eyes, they were so happy to see that I'm back to life. They stayed with me for the whole day. In the evening, the nurse came to my room and she told my parents to leave because I had to go to sleep and recover. But I couldn't sleep that night at all, and the next night, and the night after. And by now, I haven't slept at all for almost a year. Usually, we all need sleep because our brain is getting its necessary rest and recovery during sleep. And if a person doesn't get sleep for several days, he would become exhausted and might even get hallucinations. But I do not have any of these problems. I feel totally fine. My parents took me to different doctors for a medical checkup, and they all said that I'm totally healthy. It seems that I'm the only patient in the neighborhood with this rare medical diagnosis. Time passed and I got used to that, and I even developed my new superpower and learned how to use it. While all my peers take their sleep, I can do whatever I want at nighttime. I read books, play computer games, and do my homework. Sometimes I even play funny pranks on my brother and my parents at night. For example, once I showered my parents with shaving foam in bed while they were asleep, just for fun. And another day, I glued my brother's slippers to the floor, just as a joke. My parents were really frustrated with these pranks, and my brother was so angry at me that he almost had a fight with me then. Time passed, and I got bored with playing pranks. Some people would complain that they do not have enough time to do what they want. Well, it's totally different for me. I have all of my 24 hours to do what I want. And guess what? I never get bored. The only thing which I really miss is having my night dreams. In my earlier days, I used to have bright and colorful night dreams. It felt like watching an exciting movie. Now it's all gone. So this is how I live now. Sometimes at night, when I feel bored, I climb out of the window onto the house roof and I look at the stars. One night, I was sitting on our house roof, looking at the night sky, and then suddenly, I saw a strange green light coming from a neighbor's basement. Our neighbor, Mr. Smith, has always been very suspicious. He always looks depressed and gloomy, he's always silent, and he would never talk to anybody. He's spending his time sitting at his home and he almost never goes out. Also, he usually goes to sleep very late at night, and his house windows are always lit at night. But his house window curtains are often drawn, so I would never have a chance to peek inside and see what he's doing. And now he would turn on this green light in his house basement. What does it mean? I felt a strong suspense and I decided to find out what our neighbor was up to. And this has become my major preoccupation for the next days to come. Since that night, I would sit by the window for all of my day and watch Mr. Smith's house. But it was all quiet. But then, all of a sudden, just one night, Mr. Smith arrived at his house late at night in his old pickup truck. He parked near his house and then he pulled several big and heavy plastic bags out of the back of the car. Then he would move all of them, one by one, into his house basement. All of this seemed extremely suspicious to me. So I decided to find out what he was up to. It was late at night and all of my family was sleeping already. So I quietly crept downstairs, opened the door, and went outside to the street. I crossed the road and went to Mr. Smith's house. It was late at night and there was no one on the street. I looked through the basement windows and I was struck by what I saw. There were two men's boots protruding from a big and heavy plastic bag. No doubt, Mr. Smith was a dangerous maniac. I made an anonymous call to our local police station. They arrived and knocked at Mr. Smith's door. He opened and let them in. They stayed there for a while and then they just left. They found nothing suspicious. Then I told my parents about my suspicions, but they just laughed at me and said I had a great imagination. My elder brother Mick didn't believe me either, and he promised to prove me that I was totally wrong. He said that he would secretly sneak into Smith's house and make a video from inside on his phone, in case he finds anything suspicious. I felt really scared and I asked him not to risk his life. But Mick seemed fully confident. He connected his video camera to his computer via Wi-Fi so that I could see everything online. Then he took a walkie-talkie with him and gave me the second one so that we could stay connected. We waited for the whole day, and then when night came and it became dark, my brother climbed out of the window, got outside, and then he cautiously crossed the road and crept to Mr. Smith's house. I could see this strange green light shining from the house basement again. I looked in the camera and I saw my brother cautiously creeping to Mr. Smith's house door. He pulled the handle and the door opened. Mick moved further downstairs to the house basement and he made video from the basement interior and the walls. The place looked really creepy. There were meat hooks and circular saws hanging from the walls. The place looked like a maniac hideout. But my brother just laughed and he said on his walkie-talkie that Mr. Smith was just doing his plumbing work. And then Mick turned his torch to lit the floor and there was a huge red puddle. The long red trail looked like there was some heavy load dragged in. Could it be a human body? I was getting desperately scared, but Mick said that Mr. Smith is a farmer and he just brought in his homemade fruit jam. What a stupid brother I've got. He just would not feel the real danger. He wouldn't get it that Mr. Smith is a real monster. And then our video connection was suddenly interrupted and the radio batteries went empty. But the camera was still working. Mick was holding his camera in front of him and he scanned the room all over. Suddenly, I noticed someone sneaking up behind Mick, and then suddenly the camera turned over and fell down with a bang. I screamed with horror. A maniac just attacked my brother. I didn't know what to do. I felt desperate. My parents were not at home. They went to a restaurant that night. They would be back any minute. I heard the car approaching our house and I ran out of the house. I saw my parents' car coming back home. Finally, here they are. I couldn't wait to tell them all about Mick and ask them for their immediate help. But when our car parked near our house, suddenly the door to Mr. Smith's house opened, and he came out and waved to my parents to come in. They waved back to him and went to his house. I was shocked. Was he waiting for them? What would he do to them right now? I was staying in the house all alone and I didn't know what was going on. I felt we were all in a very big danger. A few minutes passed and I saw his living room lights switched on. And I saw all of them, both my parents and Mr. Smith coming in. And then Mr. Smith went to the window curtains, looked at our house with a terrifying grin, and drew the curtains. I felt horrified. My heart was beating out loud. He knew that I was watching them. So what should I do? He got them all there, my brother and my parents. Shall I call the police again? But they have already been here tonight and didn't find anything. So who can help me out now? Since there was nobody else left, my only hope was on my own courage and bravery. I grabbed a chopping knife from the kitchen and ran outside to Mr. Smith's house. I didn't know what to expect, but I had to save my family. I rushed in through the back door. The whole house was all dark and scary. There was only that strange green light coming from the house basement. I ran into the living room and I opened the door in just one jump. And then the light turned on and there was a cry of surprise. I saw all of them there, my parents, my brother, and also Mr. Smith. I screamed wildly and threw the knife at him. It didn't hit him though, as it flew out of my hands and broke a huge green ball right in the middle of the room. They all shouted in surprise, and then they just laughed out loud. A couple minutes later, when I calmed down a little, they talked to me and explained everything. It turned out that they just played a big prank on me, and they just made up this whole story with a maniac. They just wanted to tease me for all my earlier night pranks that I played on them with shaving foam showers and gluing on my brother's sneakers. There were days when I felt bored at night and I often played tricks and pranks on my family. And the green glow was just a self-made lamp that Mr. Smith made himself as part of the game. This whole story was such a stress for me that I think I would never fall asleep again. Do you like my story? Write in the comments what you think of it, and if you liked the video, subscribe to the channel. See you soon!